The Galactic Unity Council floated in space, shining like a small moon near a giant blue star. It was a place of peace, where leaders of more than 60 alien species met to talk, not fight. The hall was shaped like a circle with curved seats, rising like steps around a glowing center. Each seat was marked with a symbol of a world or a species. Today, the air felt heavy. The Velker and the Zeruan, two of the oldest and most powerful species in the galaxy, were on the edge of war. Their fleets had already clashed at the borders, and over 200 ships had been lost. Billions of lives were in danger. Now, all the galaxy's eyes were on this meeting. The Velker were tall, with silver skin and glowing eyes. Their leader, Counselor Reen, stood with his back straight, arms crossed. "We offered peace," he said, voice cold like ice. "But the Zeruan broke the trade lines. That was an attack." On the other side sat the Zeruan Counselor Thal, a short figure with dark scales and a smooth voice. "We followed the laws of the treaty. You moved ships into our zone. That was your mistake." The room filled with low voices. Other species whispered among themselves, many afraid of what was coming. No one wanted another war between empires. The last one had lasted 50 years. In the middle of the room, Counselor Mira of the Yelm stood. The Yelm were peaceful thinkers, known for calm minds and soft voices. Mira raised her hand, asking for silence. "This council must decide," she said gently, "before more lives are lost. If war begins again, we must plan a defense. All members will send troops. But before that, I ask for one thing." All eyes turned to her. "I request," Mira said slowly, "that humans not be asked to fight." The room froze. Whispers stopped. Even the translation devices paused for a moment. Counselor Reen's eyebrows lifted. "Humans?" he said with a slight smirk. "Why speak of them? They are barely present in this council." "They are observers," someone else said. "Not warriors." Mira kept her voice calm. "I have seen what they can do. So have others. If this war starts and we send humans, it may not end the way we expect." A few delegates laughed softly. Others looked confused. One delegate from the Noct clicked his claws. "They are fragile. Their bones break easily. Their ships are old. What danger do they pose?" But Myra's eyes did not move. She looked around the room and repeated, "Please, don't let humans fight in this war." On the far side of the room, a small group sat quietly. They wore no shining armor. Their clothes were simple, dark, clean. On their badges one word, Earth. They did not speak. They had not spoken since the meeting began. But they watched, quietly, calmly. Reen looked at them and scoffed. "They say nothing. They are just here to listen." Mira nodded. "That's all they ever do until they are needed." Someone laughed again, but not as loud as before. A soft voice came from the center row. It was Iran, an old counselor from the Weathery, a peaceful farming race. "I remember the Varnus Drift," he said. The room grew quiet. "That was a pirate attack," another counselor said. "No," Iran replied. "That was more. The pirates came in full force. 5 ships from our council tried to stop them. We failed. But then a single human cargo ship responded to the call." "I've seen that report," Reen muttered. "It was just luck." Iran shook his head. "I was there. 24 humans, 1 old freighter. They stopped 6 pirate ships. The humans didn't run. They fought until the last pirate fled. They moved fast, precise, without fear. We did not understand how they did it, but I saw it. I saw their eyes." Mira added softly, "You may laugh now, Reen, but if you bring humans into your war, you will not be laughing later." Counselor Reen narrowed his eyes. "Are you warning me?" "I am asking," Mira replied, "for the safety of all." The silence stretched. Then the lights dimmed. A voice from the central system spoke. The vote for joint defense will begin. Each species may offer warriors to the front. Peacekeepers will be sent first. Reen leaned forward. Then I vote we begin deployment at once. The Velker are ready. And if the Ziruen want war, they shall have it. Across the room, Councillor Thal lowered his head. Then we accept. Our fleets will meet yours at Orion Vale. The vote passed. War was declared. Peace had failed. The humans stood up slowly. No one had asked them to speak. No one had looked at them again. But as they left, Mira watched them. Go, quiet, still silent. And she whispered to herself, please, don't let them fight. Many of the species in the Galactic Council thought Myra's warning about humans was foolish. To them, humans were small, weak, and new to space travel. Their ships were not as fast, and their weapons were not the strongest. Most saw them as workers, explorers, or traders, not fighters. But not everyone had forgotten Dot in a quiet part of the council station. Councillor Iran sat with a younger officer from his homeworld. The officer asked him, why did you defend the humans? Why do you fear their help? Iran closed his eyes for a moment. Then, he said, because I was at the Battle of Varnus Drift. The officer listened as Iran began his story. 2 years ago, in a part of the galaxy far from the center, pirates attacked a small neutral colony on a planet called Varnus Drift. It was a mining colony, rich in a rare crystal used for starship fuel. The pirates came in a fleet of 6 ships, armed with powerful weapons. They demanded control of the colony, and when the colonists refused, the pirates opened fire. The Galactic Council sent help, but most nearby ships were too far away. Only a few patrol crafts reached the colony in time. They tried to stop the pirates, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. The colony's defenses were weak. Hope was fading fast. That's when a signal came from an old cargo ship nearby. It was a human freighter called Mercy Wind. The ship was not built for war. It carried food, tools, and spare parts. But when it received the distress call, it turned and flew straight toward the battle. On board the Mercy Wind was Commander Lin, a calm woman with sharp eyes and a steady voice. Her crew of 24 humans had no war medals, no high ranks, and no powerful weapons. But they had something else: training, courage, and teamwork. The other ships told them not to get involved. You'll be destroyed. One pilot warned, but Lin only said, we'll do what we can. The Mercy Wind moved fast. It slid between enemy ships, using asteroids and space dust to hide its path. The pirates laughed at the old freighter until it dropped its cargo, not boxes, not tools, but humans in pressure suits, carrying basic weapons. They launched themselves through space. Small, almost invisible, they reached the pirate ships and entered through maintenance ports. Then came silence. Moments later, one pirate ship lost power, then another. Explosions followed. Fires lit the cold dark of space. The other patrol crafts watched in shock. The humans didn't fire from the outside. They took the ships from the inside. Commander Lin spoke once. 2 down. Moving to the 3rd. The humans didn't stop. They moved like they had done this 100 times. Calm. Fast, focused, no yelling. No panic. One pirate leader tried to run. His ship turned toward open space, engines at full speed. But the Mercy Wind fired a single shot, just one. It hit the ship's engines perfectly. The ship slowed and stopped. The pirate surrendered. The last 2 pirate ships gave up without a fight. The humans hadn't brought a war fleet. They hadn't used giant weapons. But in less than an hour, they ended the battle. Out of 24 crew members, only 2 were lost. The others came back to the Mercy Wind, tired but quiet. They didn't ask for thanks. They left after the job was done. Back in the council station, Iran finished his story. His voice was soft now. I saw it. I watched it happen. I still remember how the humans looked after the battle. No pride, no anger. Just quiet. They did not want to fight. But once they began, they did not stop. The young officer looked confused. But isn't that a good thing? Shouldn't we be glad they're on our side? Iran shook his head slowly. You do not understand. Most species, even in war, feel fear. They scream, they hesitate, they run when things go wrong. But the humans, they were still, cold, not cruel but controlled. They finished the task, no matter the cost. He paused, then added, You may not fear humans now. But if you ever see them fight, truly fight, you will. In another part of the council station, the human envoy Ray sat in a small room, watching old battle recordings. One showed Commander Lin leading her team through a pirate ship. The video had no sound, but Ray knew the words by heart. Room clear. Move forward. Watch your left. No wasted shots. Ray turned off the screen. A soft knock came at the door. It was Counselor Thal from the Zeruan. He entered carefully, looking uncertain. You helped us once. At Varnus Drift. Ray nodded. We responded to a call. Thal hesitated. If this war begins, will you send help again? Ray looked at him, expression unreadable, then said quietly, If we're asked. We'll come. Thal gave a slow nod. Then he left. Ray sat back, eyes closing. The memories of Varnus Drift never truly left any of them. And now war was coming again. Only 3 days had passed since the peace talks failed. The Galactic Unity Council tried to calm the situation, but it was too late. On the 4th day, disaster struck. At dawn, a Zeruan outpost on the planet Vala Prime was attacked. The outpost was not a military base, it was a research station. It had scientists, workers, and only a few guards. It stood close to the border between Velker and Zeruan space. Velker ships entered without warning. They fired without speaking. The outpost was destroyed in less than 10 minutes. Over 1,000 Zeruan lives were lost. The news spread across the galaxy like fire in dry grass. The council called an emergency session. The hall was louder than ever before. Delegates shouted. Some cried. Others demanded answers. The Zeruan Counselor Thal stood with trembling hands, holding a data tablet. He spoke with deep anger in his voice. Here is the proof. Velker ships, marked with military codes, attacked a peaceful outpost. This is war. Counselor Reen of the Velker did not deny it. He stood straight, his voice cold. The outpost was in our claimed zone. It ignored our warnings. We took action. You murdered scientists. Thal shouted. Reen didn't answer. Counselor Mira tried to speak, but no one listened. The council voted quickly. Joint defense forces would be formed. War had begun. Each member world was asked to send soldiers, ships, and support. All major species answered. Only one group remained silent. The humans. In the human sector, the envoy. Ray watched the council decision with a heavy heart. She sat alone in her office, hands folded on her lap. The door opened. A messenger stepped in. Counselor Thal wishes to speak with you. Ray nodded. Soon, Thal arrived, looking tired and worried. He sat down across from her. We need help, he said. The Velker are moving fast. They've taken 2 border stations already. If they reach Orion Vale, we'll lose access to 5-star systems. Ray listened quietly. Thal leaned forward. I know your people are not part of the military alliance. But I'm asking, will you send help? Ray spoke calmly. If we send forces, we won't send fleets. Not yet. Then what will you send? Ray looked him in the eyes. One team. Far away, in a quiet hangar on a moon called Grey Reach. A single dropship powered up. It was not large. It had no big weapons. But inside were 5 humans, wearing light armor and carrying simple packs. The team leader was Moran, a tall man with short hair and steady eyes. He didn't speak much. His team trusted him. They didn't need speeches. The others were Dana, skilled with tech and drones; Rick, fast and sharp with tactics; Juno, calm under pressure; and Bane, the youngest, but known for quick thinking and sharp shooting. They were not famous. They were not decorated. But they were chosen. As the ship rose from the moon's surface, no music played, no flags waved. Only the quiet hum of engines filled the air. At Orion Vale, the situation was growing worse. The Zeruan army had soldiers and cannons, but they were slow to move. Their defense lines were breaking. Morale was low. When the human dropship landed, the Zeruan guards were confused. They looked at the ship, then at the 5 people walking down the ramp. One officer asked, "Is this the first team? Where is the rest?" "This is the team," Moran said simply. The officer blinked. There are only 5 of you?" "Yes. You don't even have heavy weapons." Moran looked at the defense wall. "We won't need them." The officer was about to argue, but then decided to stay quiet. Within an hour, the humans had studied the entire area. They walked the defense lines, checked the sensors, and marked weak spots. Donna placed small drone pods in hidden places. Rick rewired 3 old guns to fire faster. Juno and Bane took positions on high ground, watching the sky. Zeruan soldiers stared as the humans moved like a single body. No shouting, no panic. Just quiet work, as if they had done this 1,000 times. That night, the Velker scouts came. They moved silently in the dark, planning to test the defenses. But before they reached the walls, they tripped a signal. Bane's voice came through the comms. "Contact. Sector 5. Then silence. 10 seconds later, the scouts were gone. The next morning, the Zeruan commander stood in disbelief. "They're all gone?" Moran nodded. "They won't report back." The commander looked at him with wide eyes. "How did you know where they'd come from?" Rick smiled. "We watched how the wind moved. It carried their scent." "You can smell them?" "No," Rick said. "But we can track the changes in dust and heat. We've practiced it." The commander shook his head. "What are you people?" Moran didn't answer. He just looked toward the horizon. Back in the Galactic Council, reports came in. Orion Vale holding. Velker scouts neutralized. Zeruan line stable. Delegates were surprised. Counselor Reen narrowed his eyes. "Who is helping them?" A screen showed a small team of humans moving through trees, setting traps, disabling enemy drones, and vanishing like ghosts. Counselor Mira watched quietly. Then Reen spoke. "If humans are fighting, then we must send more power." Mira finally looked at him and said softly, "You still don't understand." "This is only 5 of them," Reen scoffed. "Then we'll crush 5. Mira whispered, "And if you force them to send 500? The planet Orion Vale was cold, covered in long plains of stone and dust. Sharp winds blew through the cracks in the rocks, carrying the smell of burned metal and smoke. It was quiet, but not peaceful. War was coming closer. Commander Sivan of the Zeruan stood on the edge of the main defense wall, staring at the wide valley. His troops had been tired for days. Some were injured. Supplies were low. Morale was falling. Behind him, his officers argued over maps. "We need air support." One said. "We need more soldiers," said another. Sivan sighed. "We need a miracle." Then came a strange message. "A human dropship has landed." Sivan blinked. "How many?" "Just 1. 5 soldiers." "5?" The room fell silent. Someone laughed nervously. "That must be a mistake." But it was and single quotes T. Minutes later, the 5 human soldiers walked through the front gates. Their uniforms were simple, their weapons light. They looked calm, but focused. Not a single one showed fear. Commander Sivan came to meet them. "I am Commander Sivan of the Zeruan Defense Force," he said, trying to hide his doubt. "You must be tired after your journey." Do you need rest or supplies? Miran, the human team leader, shook his head. We are ready now. Sivan looked at the 5 of them. We expected more of you, more gear, more everything. Miran replied softly, this is all we need. In the first hour, the humans walked the outer wall. They didn't speak much. Dana used her scanner to map every corner of the base. Juno placed signal traps at weak points. Bane took the high tower and set up a long-range scope. Rick rewired the motion sensors so they covered blind spots. The Zeruan soldiers watched with surprise. The humans didn't act like visitors. They moved like they belonged. Like they had done this before. By evening, the defense wall was stronger than it had been in weeks. That night, the Velker made their move. 6 scout units, small and fast, flew low through the valley. Their goal was to test the wall, find its weakness before the main attack. Their ships were quiet, painted black to hide in the dark, but Bane saw them. He tapped his com. Movement, east side, 6 targets. Juno replied, confirmed. Trap set. As the scouts came closer, a signal flash burst above them. Their ships lost control. One crashed into a stone cliff. The rest tried to escape, but a second trap exploded under them. Sparks flew. 2 more ships went down. The Zeruan soldiers ran to alert their leaders, but when they arrived, the humans had already handled it. Only 1 scout was left alive. He crawled from the wreck, only to see 5 human figures standing above him, silent, without fear. The next day, Commander Sivan held a meeting. You've done more in 1 night than we've done in 2 weeks, he said, amazed. You broke their scouts, you made them retreat, but how? Miran answered simply, we observe, we plan, then we act. Sivan sat back. And if the Velker return with a full attack? We'll be ready. Far away, on a Velker command ship, General Naren received the report. Scouts destroyed. Ships lost, all by a small human team. He stood up, his face cold. Then we will crush them, full force. He pointed to the map. We strike tonight, hit the walls. Break their defense, end this fast. His officers nodded. But none of them had fought humans before. At sunset, the sky over Orion Vale turned red. Velker ships appeared like dark clouds, flying low and fast. The Zeruan sounded the alarm. Enemy force incoming. At least 20 ships. Commander. Sivan shouted orders. Everyone to your positions. Inside the base, the humans moved calmly. Dana checked her drones. Drones in position. Rick loaded his weapon. Traps armed. Juno climbed the tower beside Bane. Cover the west side. I'll take the south. Miran walked the wall one. Last time, nodding to each Zeruan soldier. Stay low. Follow the plan. Then the battle began. Lasers lit the sky. The ground shook. Velker ships dropped soldiers into the valley, but nothing went as they expected. Their first landing zone exploded. Set off by hidden mines Dana placed hours earlier. The second group walked into a wall of fire, triggered by auto turrets. Rick repaired. From the towers, Juno and Bane took out key officers one by one, never missing a shot. Inside the base, humans moved like shadows, appearing and disappearing, fighting with speed and control. The Velker started to panic. This isn't a normal defense. Who are these people? We're losing ground. Within 20 minutes, the Velker called for retreat. Their ships pulled back, carrying broken squads and damaged armor. Commander Sivan watched in shock. They're running, he whispered. Base had survived because of 5 humans. Later that night, Sivan found Miran sitting by the wall, cleaning his gear. You were right, Sivan said. You didn't need more people, just the right ones. Miran gave a small nod. We're not here to show power. We're here to stop war. Sivan sat beside him. Why do you fight like that? So quiet, so calm. Miran looked at the stars. Because if we lose control, it becomes something else. Scifi didn't ask what something else meant. He didn't need to. He had seen enough. Back at the Galactic Council, news of the human success reached every corner. Some were amazed. Others were afraid. Counselor Reen scowled. One team of humans stopped our full force. He turned to his aide. Prepare for a larger assault. Counselor Mira closed her eyes. They warned us, she whispered. But no one listened. The sky over Orion Vale was quiet again. No enemy ships flew above, no weapons fired, but the silence didn't bring peace. Everyone in the base knew it was not over. It was only the beginning. Commander Scifi walked through the base, watching his soldiers repair the walls. Their eyes were sharper now. They moved faster, more confident. The reason was simple. The humans were still there. The 5 human soldiers had become part of the base. They didn't give orders. They didn't act like heroes. But their presence gave strength to everyone around them, and far beyond Orion Vale. In the halls of the Galactic Council, fear was beginning to spread. Counselor Reen of the Vulcar was angry. Reports from the battlefield made him clench his jaw. Our scouts lost. Our strike team failed. One base held back 20 of our ships. He said to his generals, they had help. One general replied. A small human unit. Reen narrowed his eyes. Only 5? Yes, but they acted like an army. Their traps, their shooting, their plans, it was too perfect. Reen slammed his hand on the table. Then they must be removed, all of them. If humans are allowed to fight, we'll lose this war. Another general spoke carefully. Should we speak with the council? Demand the removal of human forces? No, Reen said. We send more ships, a full assault. Crush the base, crush the humans, and send a message. Back on Orion Vale, Miran stood on a rocky hill, looking out over the valley. His team had spread out again, checking the land, watching the skies, setting up new defenses. Dana sat under a large scanner, fixing its lens. Rick was laying small wires into the ground, new traps. Juno and Bane trained with Zeruan soldiers, showing them how to move quietly and shoot with focus. Commander Scifi joined Miran on the hill. I heard the Vulcar are planning a large attack. Scifi said. Miran didn't look surprised. They will come. And your people? Will they send more? Miran paused for a moment. If we are ordered, yes. Scifi hesitated, then asked, is that good or bad? Miran looked at the sky. It depends on how much of Earth we decide to wake. In the Galactic Council hall, the room was tense. A vote was called. Should humans be fully allowed to join the war effort? Until now, humans had sent only advisors, scouts, or small units. But now, many council members wanted their full support. They are effective, said one leader. They saved Orion Vale. They are dangerous, said another. If we let them fight, no one can stop them. Counselor Mira stood. Let me say this once more. You all saw what 5 humans did. If you open the door to hundreds or thousands, this war will not end with a treaty. It will end with silence. Someone scoffed. Are you saying humans would destroy us? I'm saying, Myra replied, they won't stop until the job is done. And their way of war is different. Reen stood. I demand that humans be sent in full. Let them show their true power. Then we'll see what happens. The vote passed. Humans were now fully allowed to join the war. 1 week later, the galaxy changed. Human ships, small, fast, and unmarked, moved into war zones. They didn't arrive in large fleets. They came in quiet, landing teams in forgotten places, slipping into enemy systems without warning. They didn't destroy cities. They didn't aim for chaos. They disappeared enemy leaders, broke fuel supplies, shut down computers, and turned whole warships into useless metal. In Sector 8, a Vulcar command base went dark. No signal, no survivors. In Sector 3, A weapons factory shut down on its own. All programs deleted. Doors locked. In Sector 12, a war fleet vanished. All ships were found later empty, floating in space. And in every case, the only sign of who did it was a small human symbol, 3 stars in a triangle. Commander Scifi heard the stories from other battlefields. He sat with his officers, reading each report. "Humans don't fight like we do," he said. One officer nodded. "They don't destroy for fun, but they remove threats completely." Another added, "And once they start, they don't stop." Outside the command room, human soldiers trained quietly. More had arrived. 10, then 30, now 100. They came in silence. No cheers, no medals. Just orders. Ray, the human envoy, arrived later that day. Commander Scifi met her at the landing pad. "You sent more," he said. "We were called," Ray replied. Scifi looked at the new soldiers stepping off the ships. "Can I ask you something?" "Yes." "Why do your people fight this way? Quiet, fast, with no anger?" Ray looked around, then answered, "Because we've learned. Long ago we fought for pride, for power. We lost too much. Now we fight only when needed, and we finish it quickly." Scifi nodded slowly. "What happens if someone tries to stop you?" Ray's voice became soft. "Then we don't stop. Not until the job is done." In the council, Reen received new reports. His ships were losing contact. His bases were failing. He stared at the list of defeats, all linked to human activity. He turned to his aide. "Call back our forces. Prepare for defense. The humans are not just soldiers. They are weapons." Counselor Mira watched from across the room. She didn't smile. She only whispered, "This is the cost of waking Earth." The war had changed. It was no longer about large fleets or heavy firepower. It was not about who had more ships or stronger weapons. Now it was about who the humans were watching. In just 2 weeks, human teams had struck across 12 sectors. They never announced their moves. They never gave warnings. Yet one by one, enemy strongholds fell. Important targets vanished. Enemy officers disappeared, and the most terrifying part, the humans didn't celebrate. In a quiet spaceport above the planet Dorol, General Tharnes of the Velker stood before a damaged starship. The crew had returned from Sector 9, half of them injured, some silent, others shaking. Tharnes asked his captain, "Did you see the enemy?" The captain looked down. "We didn't even know they were there. 1 minute our systems worked fine. The next, lights went out, weapons shut down, and 3 of our officers were gone." "No fight?" "No chance," the captain whispered. "They moved through the ship like shadows. By the time we realized what was happening, it was over." Tharnes clenched his fists. "We are the Velker. We have fought for centuries. We cannot be beaten by a few humans." But in his heart, doubt had already started to grow. Back at the Galactic Council, messages flooded in. A base lost. A supply station taken. A communications hub cut off. Counselor Reen stood at the center of the hall, his voice louder than ever. "This has gone too far. The humans are no longer helping, they are taking control. If this continues, there will be nothing left of our command." Across the hall, Counselor Mira remained silent. Another counselor asked, "What do you suggest?" Reen pointed toward the human envoy Ray, who was seated at the edge of the chamber. "We demand a stop to all human operations, immediately." All eyes turned to Ray. She stood slowly. Her voice was calm. "You asked for our help. We came, you opened the door. Now the mission continues until peace is real." Reen shouted, "This is not peace. This is control." Myra finally stood. "Reen, you voted to call them, and now you fear them. The humans did not start this war. You did." Reen turned away, but the message was clear. The humans were no longer just soldiers. They were now the most powerful piece on the board. On a distant moon, inside a dark command room, Moran received his next orders. He read them silently, then burned the message. His second, Juno asked. New target? Yes, another base? Miran nodded. One of the last. After that, we pull back. Juno looked surprised. Pull back? Only if the council listens. Only if peace holds. She didn't ask more. Orders were orders. And for humans, once the mission begins, it is finished. In the Velker capital, General Tharni sent an urgent message to the council. Please, ask them to stop. We surrender. Those words echoed through the halls. Other species who had once doubted now whispered the same. Make them stop. We are losing more than the war. They do not destroy cities, but they erase power. Please, don't let humans fight anymore. At Orion Vale, Commander Sivan stood at the wall, looking over the valley again. The war had passed him by. His base still stood, thanks to the first 5 humans who arrived weeks ago. Now more of them had come and gone. They didn't stay long, just long enough to finish what needed to be done. Sivan heard soft footsteps. It was Ray. He looked at her. You've won, haven't you? Ray gave a small nod. The enemy is retreating. They're not just retreating. They're asking us to stop you. Ray looked at the stars. We never asked to fight, but when we do not stop halfway. Sivan asked, what will it take to make your team stop? Ray answered quietly, a true peace. A peace they believe will last. In the council, the final vote came. Should human operations continue? Some still wanted to use their strength to end the war completely, but most were afraid now. Not of humans themselves, but of what more fighting would awaken inside them. Counselor Mira stood before the assembly. Now you understand, she said. You wanted strong allies. You called the humans, but they are not tools to be used and thrown away. They are not monsters. They are people. And they fight for peace, not glory. She turned to Ray. We ask your people to stop. The war is ending. Let it end. Ray gave a short nod. If the council agrees to full ceasefire, our teams will be called back. The vote passed. Across the stars, human teams received the signal. Short message, stand down. Ceasefire confirmed. No cheers. No loud voices, just quiet movements. Guns were lowered. Ships turned away. Bases were left empty. And one by one, the humans disappeared, just as silently as they came. Back at Orion Vale, Miran stood on the same hill. Sivan came to meet him. It's over? Sivan asked, for now. Will you go home? We never left, Miran said. Then he looked at the stars. You asked us to fight. We did. But next time, think carefully before calling Earth again. Sivan nodded. I will. The wind moved through the valley again, but this time it carried no sound of war. Only silence. And peace. Peace had returned to the galaxy. It didn't come with loud cheers or grand parades. It came quietly, just as the humans had come. Across war-torn space, battles ended. Ships lowered their weapons. Soldiers stood down. Bases that once shook with gunfire now echoed with silence. The Velker had stopped their attacks. The Zeruan had pulled back their fleets. Other species followed, breathing out a long-held fear. And everywhere, the same words were spoken. The humans are done fighting. At Orion Vale, the sun rose gently over the rocky land. The base, once ready for war, now looked calm. The walls were no longer under repair. The guards stood with ease. Even the wind felt softer. Commander Sivan stood beside the human team leader. Miran, at the edge of the base. I didn't believe it before, Sivan said. When Counselor Mira said your kind shouldn't be sent to war, I thought she was just being careful. Miran didn't speak. Sivan continued, but now I understand. You fight to protect. But your way of fighting is different. It's sharp, fast, final. Miran simply nodded. We are taught to end things before they grow worse. Behind them, Ray, the human envoy, arrived with a message. "All teams are recalled," she said. "The council confirmed full ceasefire. It's over." Miran looked at his team, Dana, Rick, Juno, and Bane. None of them smiled. But a quiet peace showed in their eyes. They had done their duty. Now it was time to go. In the Galactic Council Hall, the mood had changed. Once loud and full of arguments, now the chamber was quiet, filled with thought. Counselor Mira stood again at the center. Her voice was steady. "We called the humans when we could not stop the war. They came without demands. They fought without pride, and they left quietly." She looked around the room. "Let this be a lesson. Not just about humans, but about peace. About how far we should go before we let fear turn into battle." Even Reen, the once proud Velker counselor, said nothing. He sat in silence, eyes lowered. In a distant corner of the galaxy, on a peaceful moon with soft green hills, a small human base stood. It was not a military fort. It had no towers, no weapons. It was a resting place. The first human teams returned here after the ceasefire. One by one, dropships arrived. No reporters waited. No leaders gave medals. The humans simply walked off the ships and went inside. Rick took off his armor, folded it neatly, and placed it into a locker. Juno sat under a tree, looking at the sky. Bane walked alone by the lake, throwing small stones into the water. Dana cleaned her scanner, even though it was already spotless. Miran joined Ray at the edge of a quiet garden. "Do you think it will last?" Ray asked. "The peace?" Miran said. Ray nodded. Miran looked up. "Not forever, but maybe long enough." She smiled slightly. "They were lucky it was only a small team." "Yes," he said. "We were the gentle hand. And if Earth sends more next time," Miran looked serious, "then the galaxy will never forget it." Weeks passed. In Zeruan space, the people rebuilt their stations. They planted gardens. They reopened schools. In Velker cities, statues of war leaders were quietly taken down. No one wanted to remember who started it. They only wanted to move on. And in small places across the stars, children asked their parents, "Is it true that humans stopped the war?" The answers were always quiet, careful. "Yes, child." But only because they chose to. One day, a message arrived at the human envoy station on Greyreach. It came from Counselor Mira. The message was short. "Thank you for coming, for not staying, for not going further than you had to. We will remember, and next time we will try peace first." Ray read it alone. Then she smiled just a little and sent back her reply. "We hope you do. Please don't let us fight again." Back at the quiet human base, the 5 soldiers were given leave to return home. Some chose to stay longer. Others left on silent ships with no nameplates. As Miran prepared to leave, Sivan sent one last message. "You changed the course of the war with 5 people. You showed us a different kind of strength. We were afraid of you before. Now we are afraid of what we could become if we ever make you fight again." Miran read the message. Then he deleted it. There was no need to keep it. Some things were better left as memory. And so the humans returned to the stars. They left no banners, number songs, no statues, but in every council room, every war record, and every soldier's heart, there, silence was remembered. Their warning was heard. Please don't let humans fight in this war, and even more than that, please don't make them fight in the next one.